For millions of Americans, the housing market feels stuck. And that might be because it is stuck. Americans are staying in their homes for the longest time in a quarter of a century. That means that people are not upgrading, not downsizing, or even relocating or moving. And it's not because of nostalgia, it's because of simple math. Millions of homeowners are not eager to trade their 2% and 3% mortgages for a 6% and 7% mortgage. Also, in pricey coastal and northeast metro areas, it's worse. Ownership tenure is pushing into the double digits, keeping buyers on the sidelines. Anybody got a bright spot?
I just bought in South Carolina.
Well, I don't want your personal anecdotes.
It's wonderful. People sold.
I'm doing great.
And guess what?
I have a bright
The housing
spot for
market is softening up down there.
Yeah.
Okay, that's, I think that's the bright spot.
And I think you know, when you talk about New York, California, even Connecticut, I live in Connecticut as well. You know, there's all sorts of reasons why people aren't bailing on a 2% mortgage. If they got what they've gotten, they're paying pretty high taxes. You know, it's hard to really move those houses. Who wants to move to New York City? Really,
but let me throw this data point out there. I don't think you mentioned this, and this is from Realtor.com. For the first time since 2020, the share of U.S. homeowners with mortgage rates of 6% or higher exceeds those with rates below 3%.
Right.
So I'm not saying that's
We're
good. If you got
there.
a 6% mortgage, you're not happy. But what that says something about the market. It means people aren't holding, like 6% mortgage is something you hold on to with dear life. You're willing to do something with that if your situation changes.
But roughly,
that's good.
All right, but I'm going to parry with you on that. But still, 80% of outstanding mortgages carry rates below 6%. 80%. So it's improving, but that's still the lock-in of interest rates. But
it's only going to go in one direction. Like, it's not going that whatever the ratio is, it's getting more skewed to people with higher interest rate mortgages. Again, I don't want you to have a high interest rate mortgage, but it just means this whole idea of like, I can't let go of my 3% is melting away, and that's what's going to change the housing market as long as you continue to get more supply on the market.
Yeah, but those places you mentioned that are skewing the data is not a supplier's market. I mean, New York, there's not a huge supply of new homes in New York. There's always
forget about New York. New York, I mean, like,
stop talking about New York City.
How about Connecticut?
No, not Connecticut either.
Connecticut.
How about
California?
like Indiana?
That's what I'm saying. There's a bifurcated market here, obviously, and you know, it depends on where you are.
I don't think it's all about letting the mortgage go, though. People love their low mortgage rate, but because of that low mortgage rate, especially, for example, if they got it during COVID, then they were really buying price-wise at the top of the market.
Yeah.
So if the market is softening and these folks are coming in trying to get a 6% mortgage and they're saying, well, I can't afford this house at 6% at the price that they're asking, and they're lowballing a little. I do see that here in New York City. The people who are really stuck on getting their price end up taking their place off the market. The people who are flexible, probably even willing to take a loss, need to move for a life event or whatever, they're the ones that end up selling. So I don't know how much that unlocks the market, because there are enough people that are going to say, I don't want to take a hit on this like that.
Well, we're talking about, if people stay in these homes, you're talking about roughly a $38 trillion wealth transfer globally over the next decade. Yeah. And there are many reasons why people sell and move. It's a death of a spouse. It is you need to move to assisted living facility. You have to relocate for a job. But one of the areas you mentioned Connecticut, New Haven, Connecticut, has one of the longest average ownerships among metro areas, 13.4 years. And Merced, California,
the pizza, guaranteed.
Really?
Merced had the tenure rose the most from the prior year in Merced, California, 34% to 12 and a half years.
Yeah, people love it. They love it so much they want to stay for over 10, 12 years.
I can't imagine people want to move into New Haven. Trust me.
They want to go to Merced.
I've been there. They may want to go to Merced.
Quickly, Dagan, you talked about that $1 trillion in wealth that's being held up, which is why, and I think maybe it's been Steve Moore who said this, but correct me if I'm wrong, where you want to see home price increase slow but not totally collapse, because there are so many homeowners who are sitting on wealth, and you don't want to see that wiped out if prices really start to fall. So similar to how we were talking about inflation earlier, you want wage gains to go faster than the price increase of the house, but you don't want the total house to actually fall in price because you have a lot of wealth tied up in there. On a similar story, I'm wondering if people are selling, Dig, and you've talked a little bit about this, and I was one of them, who sell for other reasons, because home insurance is no longer affordable, property taxes are going up, even though the value of the home is going down, the neighborhood is changing, and so you're willing to take a loss on a property because all of the extra peripheral issues are no longer affordable, even if the house still is at a 3% mortgage.
DIVORCE.
I know what that
I can get
spells.
in here because Charlie.
I was just going to say that, most people that are sitting on houses outside of New York and all these other places that skews the numbers are sitting on profits. So they're selling off their highs. They're not selling at a loss. I mean, that's something you have to keep in mind.
If you
where there's
bought
real
during
market.
COVID at the peak,
Not,
I think it depends on the area.
Maybe
but
outside of Florida. I don't know. Florida,
people
you
are
had some.
Florida's
going up
been-
crazy.
Lately-
That's what I
Florida's
mean.
different.
If you
Florida
bought
had some
during-
appreciation and then it came down.
It's coming down, though.
Yeah, look,
I
they
know.
got like housing prices do have to come down. The ratio between incomes and housing prices
Yeah.
is so out of whack. The idea that prices aren't going to come down a little bit, like they can still come down a bit for a lot of people, and they'll make a very tidy profit. But
Agreed.
it's going to take forever. Even in a Trump economy, it's going to take forever for incomes to catch up to the starter home prices right now. It's absolutely insane.
We need a little bit of relief on the rates. I think the president is right about that. I'm not saying that his calculation is 100% correct. But
Short-term rates don't control the mortgage.
No, I know. But just to put it out there, it looks like even with the numbers and the data that we have, that the Fed could cut potentially. It's not enough for this market, but 2 times this year. I think it would balance things, help balance a
Might make
little
it
as long
worse.
as the bond market doesn't
Might
go
make
crazy.
it worse if the bond market if inflation comes back and 10-year sells off, then your mortgage rates are more expensive.
Right.
So you got to be careful with that.
I said if.
Listen, Scott Bessent keeps trying to talk him out of the short-term rate and lowering the Fed funds rate. He said this, and he still can't make the case that you should focus on the 10-year.
Maybe that's why Kevin Warsh is getting shoved into the Fed job. We'll talk about that next hour.